Hello, everybody. We have a ton of news to get into today. I have two guests joining me today. I, of course, am joined by the one, the only, the Joey Cannoli. Uh,
Hello.
so Joey Cannoli is joining me today. How you doing today, Joey?
Great. I woke up 80 minutes ago.
Hell yeah! And it's not just Joey today. I am also joined by a special guest. If you want to know more about this individual, I did an interview with him back in, I believe it was January. We are joined by Joshua Matthew Black. Hello, Joshua. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Woke up feeling pretty good. I wanted to wake up earlier than I did today, but unfortunately, that's not how things worked out.
Me
So,
too.
yeah, that's it is what it is. We'll try again tomorrow. But yeah, we've got a lot of news to get into today. And like I said at the start of this, if you want to check out Joshua, I did an interview with him previously. Great interview. It's the only interview I've done. I would love to do more like it. It was incredibly fun. But you can also check out Joshua Preacher O Christ. The link is in the description. Go check him out on Twitter. But yeah, so we've got a lot of news to get into today, and we'll get started on that. So let's see. What do I want to talk about? I know Joey would love to talk about the minimum wage federally being raised.
Oh,
I know
boy.
I know Joey would love to talk about that. So Raise the Wage Act of 2025 introduced. Senator Bernie Sanders and Rep. Bobby Scott have introduced the Raise the Minimum Wage Act of 2025, which aims to increase the federal minimum wage from $7.25 to $17 per hour by 2030.
Wow.
Excuse me. That's insane. The proposed legislation has sparked a range of reactions on social media, with some advocating for a higher immediate increase, while others express concerns about potential job losses and the economic impact on businesses. The bill's gradually approach to wait the bill. Oh, sorry. The bill's gradual approach to raising the minimum wage reflects an attempt to address the economic needs of workers while considering the operational constraints of employers. So my thoughts on this, and I don't even have it presented. There you go. Now you can see it on screen. My thoughts on this generally is that they're just trying to California the rest of the country. Like the raising the minimum wage doesn't actually do anything. It's like a band-aid on the larger problem. What actually needs to be done is we need to get inflation down, and we also need to stop taxing people at the rates that we tax them at, because then people would have more money. It's not that they need to make more money at a minimum. It's that we need to have more money not being taken from them. Because like it hasn't fixed anything in California. California's minimum wage is at like $20 an hour now. Everything is insanely expensive here. The only benefit to that is when I go to other states, I have a little bit more money than the average person there, but that's because I'm making a little bit more in California and having to spend more in California. So if they do this, then it's just going to California the rest of the country, because what small time employer is going to be able to afford this without raising prices?
It also increases more likelihood of things being automated.
Exactly. Yeah, they would just get things automated.
Yep.
Why would I pay someone $17 an hour when I can drop $10,000 on a machine? That'll save me money long term. So I just don't know how this is gonna, like, I don't know how this helps anybody. It just seems like a band-aid on an open wound.
Oh,
Well, back when minimum wage was $4.25, I was making $7 an hour, and which for the time wasn't great money, but I was making a lot better than everybody else at the place I was working. And they raised minimum wage to $7.25, and everybody's like, "Wow, you got a 25-cent raise." But all of a sudden, my buying power was cut in half, basically.
Exactly, and that's
It went up, more expensive. Everything got more expensive, and it was almost immediate.
yeah, and that's what I tell people, because like the same people that complain about corporations being greedy and money hungry are the same ones yelling about needing an increase in minimum wage. But like, how can both things exist, right? If you need the minimum wage to go up, right? Like you need more money. Okay, well you're making $15 an hour. Let's have you make $20 an hour. Well, where is your employer going to get that extra $5 for every hour? Well,
Right?
naturally, for the first like week or two, maybe it's fine, it's cool. After that week or two, prices start adjusting. You have to start paying more for certain goods at that store. So if the store starts paying everyone there $20 an hour, well, guess what? Milk's not going to be $3, $4, $5 anymore. It's going to be $6, $7, $8. You'll see little increases everywhere, just so they can make up the difference. So it doesn't actually end up helping anybody.
Well, it's the
That
same effect as when the government prints a couple of $1 trillion. They get to buy everything at the going rate, and
Mhm.
then once they buy everything at the basically current price, then all of a sudden the price of everything goes up, and then the money they printed is worth a lot less. So
absolutely.
the first week or two, yeah, it'll be great for everybody, but then all of a sudden, once the prices get increased, you'll be worse off than you were before.
JTR in the chat says raise it to $10 an hour. It's a nice round number. I mean, me personally, JTR, I don't think there should be a minimum wage. I don't. I think that whole concept is ridiculous. And people were like, oh well, if you don't have a minimum wage, then people can charge you or pay you whatever they want to pay you. And guess what? You're your own person. You have free will. If you go down the street to a job and they're like, oh, we'll pay you $5 an hour, guess what you do? Not take the job. You go somewhere else that'll pay you more. So
Right?
why do we need a minimum wage when we could just have a competitive market where it's like, oh, am I going to work for Trader Joe's down the road for $5 an hour, or am I going to go work at Best Buy for $10 an hour? Well, I'm going to go work at Best Buy. Best Buy is paying more. You can have a job market where people actually have competitive rates for what they're paying their employees. But when you force people to pay this certain amount, and then everyone's just at the same rate, because I guarantee you, everyone watching, and Joey and Josh, I'm sure you experience this. You're working a job. You have other people working that same job. You're putting in way more work than those other people are, but you're getting paid the same amount they are.
Mhm.
And a part of that is because they can't pay you different. They have a minimum wage that they have to pay. But that person, you may both be getting paid $17 an hour, but that other dude is doing $12 an hour worth of work. Uh, you know what I mean? So some people just deserve to be paid less. Jengar says competitive wages. Yes, competitive wages. We need competitive wages. JTR says fast food in California is like $15 per meal, but at least the illegals making it can afford to rent a 2-bedroom apartment with their entire extended family. That's actually a good segue. Let's talk about illegals making money. Do you guys have anything else to add on the minimum wage story?
It just the left always has this whole we're going to do something that seems magnanimous on the surface, and then all it does is end up doing the opposite effect for people, and it's like this loop pattern that people can't readily see at the moment. And if you do see it, people call you names like conspiracy theorists.
Absolutely. And before we go into the next story, I have an ad for you guys. I don't get ads very often. But since we're talking about prices going up, you know what prices haven't gone up, and you can actually get a code for using code Studio 1775 coffee. Joey can vouch for this coffee. Joey might even be drinking it right now.
Maybe I
Uh,
am.
oh, he is drinking. See, look, Joey swears by this coffee, guys. You need to get this 1775 coffee. Weak coffee is for the weak, and at Rumble, weak has never been a part of the mission. No fillers, no fraud, and no settling for mediocrity, just like 1775 coffee. It's single origin, small farm, handpicked, specialty grade coffee that stands for quality, free speech, and calling out BS when it matters. Forget stale, mass-produced beans, roasted just enough to hide the flaws. Dark roast hits like a Trump tariff. Medium roast keeps it bold without the bitterness. And Vitality Mushroom Blend, real energy and lasting focus, no synthetic garbage. For K-Cup pods, whole bean, or fresh ground coffee, go to 1775coffee.com, use code STUDIO for 15% off, and start your morning with coffee that stands for something. Oh, and every dollar spent enters you to win a Cybertruck and 30K in cash. I'm rooting for Joey to win that.
Why? So I can suffer by not being able to park it anywhere in New York?
Exactly. Well, no. It's not that you'll suffer, Joey. You don't drive anyway. You walk or you ride bikes. I know you love bikes.
I'll bring the car to a chop shop and just like
There you
try
go.
to get
No, you
more
need to
money
get
back from it.
content. You need to get content off it, bro. You need to go park it somewhere, set up some cameras. You'll make a million views when someone vandalizes it.
Where am I going to park it though?
Oh, I don't know. I don't live in New York.
It's very hard to find parking with these damn bike lanes everywhere.
Well, see, that's why you ride your bike everywhere, Joey. Joey hates on the bikes, but he's actually secretly he's a bike lover.
I don't have a bike.
He rides bikes everywhere.
I got to stay true to my principles.
Well, anyway, so since we were talking about illegals and money and stuff like that, full semi-auto said if I win the Cybertruck, it'll be converted to a Halo Warthog. I think that's the only appropriate thing to do with your Cybertruck. So like I said, so let's talk about the IRS. So the IRS has now decided that they are going to share immigrant data with ICE. and it's sparking debates, obviously. The Internal Revenue Service has entered into an agreement to share tax information of immigrants with Immigration and Customs Enforcement to facilitate deportations. The development has led to the resignation of Melanie Kraus, the acting head of the IRS. The agreement has sparked a significant debate over the privacy and the ethical use of tax data in immigration enforcement. Critics argue that this move undermines the confidentiality promised to taxpayers, while others see it as a necessary step in immigration control. So I know a lot of people on the left are talking about this right now because they're like, oh, I thought immigrants don't pay taxes. Some of them do. And a lot of the stuff with the IRS, it's not that they're paying taxes; it's that they're getting what is it? They're getting benefits from the government, and you have to have a social security number to get benefits. So it's not just that yes, they are paying taxes. Like that argument from people on the right doesn't make sense. They pay all kinds of taxes. That's just you live in America, you pay taxes. But the point of this, because they're talking about like, oh, because that's one of the main reasons the right uses for like, oh, let's deport these people. They don't pay taxes. Well, they actually do pay taxes. The reason that we want them deported is because, one, they're not supposed to be here. Two, they inflate the census. And three, they might even be voting when they shouldn't be. And that's even besides the fact that a lot of the money that these families do earn, they send back to wherever their family is, whatever country their family's in. They send that money back, or they get benefits when they're not actually fully paying into the system.
They count towards the like in California's got like what 3 extra seats because they got
two or three extra.
Seats. Ridiculous. It goes a long way.
But it's funny that the head of the IRS has resigned. So a lot of people are saying that there's going to be a lot of fraud that gets uncovered through this, like that we were paying illegals a bunch of money through the IRS or something like that, which I'm sure we are. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. I just thought it was an interesting story because now maybe that we have like all this information on the immigrants that again, with the Alien Enemies Act, we had that happen just this week with the Supreme Court ruling that the Alien Enemies Act is Donald Trump can fully use it the way he's using it. And maybe now...
Despite that, though, some Texas judge came today and was like, no, you can't deport these 3 people. And it's just like, dude, they already ruled on this. Sit down.
Yeah, I think I had that story. I saw that story, but I didn't pull it up because it's like, why even mention it? The Supreme Court already said that it's fine. Same thing with that one story where that one dude, he didn't have a trial and he was accused of being a gang member and they deported him as well. And then they're like, oh, no, you got to bring him back. No, Supreme Court ruled that we could do that. So
it doesn't matter if the person's a gang member or not. If you're here illegally, you're here illegally. And if you get caught, you can get deported.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's how it should be. I don't think there should be like additional reasons. Obviously, I think we should target the violent criminals, the gang members that are here illegally. We should target them first. But right. if a ICE agent comes across someone who's just here illegally, yeah, deport them too. Why are they here?
The reason why it's better to target the criminals, like in addition to breaking into the country illegally, you do the criminals first because what you're hoping for is you're hoping that some of these people will get scared and leave on their own, so we won't have to deal with sending you to it. Like that's what the great thing about the El Salvadorian prison is. If you don't want to go to an El Salvadorian prison, then self-deport yourself.
Yeah. No, it is that easy, and we have seen a lot of people self-deporting. Which is good. I mean, that's what I would hope for. I don't want people to get like, put in cuffs and thrown in locked vans and stuff like that. Just go, leave on your own. Leave on your own.
There is an element of there being like, get out of here, bro.
He wants to be on the show, Joey.
Yeah, he's like, I want to be on too. But there's an element of like some sort of human, like I don't want to see people getting like herded like cattle into what do you want? Like into a train. You know what I mean? Damn it. Come on, bro. I got to put him in the room.
I was going to say, your cat never does this.
So there's like, the element of like, you don't want to see people being herded and like forced to leave, but it's a difficult humanitarian crisis, if at least for the ones that are coming here because they're legitimately trying to come here for a better life, which is what gets taken advantage of by the cartels.
Miss for Missy said, cat.
All right, you guys go. I'll be back.
Okay, Joey will be back. Did you have any thoughts on any of the immigration stuff going on, Joshua? We have another story that we'll pull up next, talking about Mexico and immigration. But any thoughts on this story?
Not so much on the story, but in the early 2000s, I was working for a roofing contractor, and it was impossible to find help, anybody willing to get on a roof in the summer. And we had two illegals working for him. And I went by to pick them up one day, and there was seven guys, seven illegals living in a trailer that was $100 a week, and they had a house mom, so it was 8 people living there. And they split $100 a week, and they split groceries. They were living super cheap, and they were mailing all their money back through Western Union, or not mailing, but through Western Union, they were sending it all back to Mexico. And he
Mm-hmm.
says, I'm going to work a year or two, and I'm going to live like a king for 10 years.
Well, yeah, and that's what they do, because the dollar here, a dollar here is like what? It's like $20, $30 in some of these
Like,
other
in
countries. And
Mexico, I think it's like 32 pesos. Let me see.
well, no, like it's not just Mexico though. Like you go to these South American countries, the dollar is worth way more.
It's not just South. You got a lot of people from Asian countries doing it too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just because the United States dollar, it's easy to make when you're here, and when you send it back to your other country, the country you came from, you go back and then you get to live off that. I saw a video about a streamer. He's like, my water bill is $3 a month, because he lives in some other country now, but he does streaming and still makes money, U.S. currency, and he's just talking about how his rent's like, he lives in like a penthouse on the 30th floor. He's like, my rent's $200 a month. And he's like, my electric bill is like $40, and it's like, yeah, in other countries the U.S. dollar goes way further. So I don't blame these people coming here to profit.
I mean, you might start. I mean, if things don't get figured out in our country, you're going to start to see some men, especially, do that. Like, they're going to be like, well, I'm going to go to like Thailand or the Philippines and like have all these beautiful women around me and pay $200 for rent. And they're like, that's the American dream.
Look, man, I'm just saying, I blow up as a streamer. I might just go do that. I might go live in one of these other countries. Screw the United States. This place is going crazy. They want me to put pronouns in my bio and
in Minecraft. JK. We love the United States.
I'll go live in Minecraft.
Insanely expensive. Well, you just get rid of the Federal Reserve and these problems solve themselves.
Yep.
Get rid of taxes. Get rid of the Federal Reserve. Most taxes. I'm okay with some taxes.
Go back to a free market society, which we haven't been for at least 100 years.
Exactly. So I want to move on to this next story. Joey knows how much I love stories like this. We're going to talk about how Donald Trump is now considering whether or not we should start drone striking Mexico. Oh. So, U.S. considers drone strikes in Mexico amid fentanyl crisis. The Trump administration is reportedly considering the use of drone strikes against drug cartels in Mexico as part of the efforts to combat narcotics trafficking across the U.S. southern border. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has publicly stated that Mexico will reject any form of American military intervention on its soil. This proposal comes amid broader discussions on how to address the fentanyl crisis, with the U.S. Treasury also focusing on disrupting the flow of fentanyl into the country, identifying both Mexico and China as key players in the issue. Well, yeah, China sends the Mexican cartels all their resources to make this stuff. And then what's funny about this story is the Mexican president, I mean, I don't even consider her the president of Mexico at this point. The cartels run Mexico. They have a stronger military force than Mexico. So if we start drone striking Mexico, it's not going to be the Mexican government that responds. It'll be the cartels. The cartels will respond because the Mexican government doesn't actually have any power.
I think that's what Donald Trump's point kind of is. You guys aren't in control.
Yep.
It's true. They're not in control. And I've batted this idea around a couple of times, like kind of like tongue in cheek in a way, but like, we do these policies in the Middle East, right, where we nation build, but we're a whole body of water plus a continent away, right? But if you do it, excuse me, it's New York City, everything is loud. But if you do that to, my God,
we can't hear it, Jerry. You're good.
It's this obnoxiously loud plane just flying. Anyway,
you're in New York. It's never quiet.
I know, but like it's like background noise for me half the time. But if you do this, like if we just take over Mexico, like occupy it, they're right there. So it's like we can always keep an eye on things. Whereas if we were to occupy Syria or something, we can't always keep an eye on it. You know what I mean?
Well, the last time we talked about this on After Dark, someone brought up an excellent point. It's like, yeah, we go in, we take out the cartels, we clean up the place, and then we leave. What happens after that? What happens after we leave, after we take out all the cartels? There's this massive power vacuum.
Hmm.
There's still no infrastructure for people to have decent jobs. They're just going to go right back to doing cartel behavior.
I believe what happened was is one of the people that was on the stage. I don't remember who it was. They said that the tradition of Mexico dating back to like the late 1800s is they usually look for the big guy on top to fix everything. Like they need the warlord there to fix everything. So if you take away the cartels, then it's going to be replaced again by something else. It's just going to be this endless loop. So then I'm just thinking about it, and I'm like, if that's the case, then perhaps we should take it over. I don't know.
No, I mean, I've said this multiple times. I'm in full support of dealing with the cartels. However that looks, I think we should pull all aid and funding from Ukraine, Russia. I don't care what's going on over there. Pull all funding and aid from Israel and Palestine. I don't care what's going on over there. And put it all onto the southern border. We need to take out these cartels. And if we need to do a little bit of nation building over in Mexico so that the cartels don't come back, like Joey's saying, they're way closer than, it's not like we're traveling across an ocean to go do the nation building.
We have
It might actually be successful.
we need to hear all the time about how these radical Islamists or the Russians are a threat to our way of life, but it's like we literally have an example of something that's a way bigger danger on our border, and we just kind of ignore it, and like we shouldn't ignore it. If there's ever a reason to do something militarily, and maybe this is what Trump can convince the military industrial complex, be like, listen, you could still make your money. We're just gonna make sure, we're gonna take care of this problem here. It's a real problem. It's an actually real problem that affects us. Everyone knows somebody who's died of a drug overdose, you know.
Well,
And
it's
like
not just drug overdoses; it's the human trafficking.
the human trafficking, the drug overdoses, I mean, first of all, the inhumane way in which they treat. So you could be an illegal and sneak into the country, fine. But I mean, what these cartels do, and it's not like sometimes these illegals aren't necessarily sending money back to their family. They owe these cartel coyotes thousands of dollars, and they're making money here to give to the cartels. So it's like it's a system that has to stop, and it's a system that seems like the Democrats support.
Yeah, Josh, do you have anything to add on this?
No, I was just thinking about that guy I was talking about earlier. Last time he went back, we heard from him a while later, and he couldn't get back. He paid the cartels like $5,000 to get him over the border because he had to. He knew how to cross the border, but if he didn't pay them, then there was repercussions. But he paid $5,000 and he got caught, and they were like, "Sorry, we'll try again if you got another $5,000." So he wound up not being able to come back. He knows how to cross the border. At the time, this was probably 15, 20 years ago, but he knew how to cross the border, but he couldn't because you have to pay the cartels.
Well, and that's what that's another thing that a lot of people miss is with the cartels. It's not just that a lot of people pay them to cross the border. You have to pay them to cross the border in a lot of parts. It's not just that, oh, you sneak past them. No, you try going through the border without, paying the toll. The cartel will let's just say I can't say what the cartel will do on YouTube. But yeah, no, it's insane. And it's not $5,000. I mean, that's a low number. You said it was from like 10 years ago, something like that.
Probably closer to 20
years ago. So yeah, so $5,000 like 10, 20 years ago, that makes sense. I talked about a story recently. This woman, she convinced her family to basically fund her breaking into the United States. She paid the cartel something like $25,000. She got into the United States successfully, but was captured the next day and deported. And it's like, well, moral of the story, don't break into the country using $20,000+ because she was complaining about how her family now has no money and they can't survive. Whoops. And it's like, well, you had $25,000. You surely weren't that bad off.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you could have spent the money on the legal paperwork instead.
Yeah.
Well, the story I heard was she borrowed it, and her hope was that when she got here, she could make it back to pay back the debt.
Well, she
so that's the story I heard.
What I had read, she had like borrowed it from her parents.
Oh, well, I heard that it was borrowed from someone else. So it may.
Oh, well, either way, don't do that. Just don't borrow. Go through the legal means. We need to update our legal processes to make it easier for people. All I ever see about the legal way to enter the country, everyone always says it's super difficult. I understand that. I understand that it's difficult. We need to upgrade that system. We need to modernize it, but it still doesn't justify breaking into the country.
Right.
And it also just holds up the line for all the people that are still trying to do it legally, because we only allow a certain number of people into the country every year, and I don't know exactly how they count it, but they don't let people in legally when we have too many illegals come in. We hit our cap, and then they keep going, and then they keep going. But that's my thoughts on it.
Yep.
I used to work with a guy named Martine. He was a legal immigrant, and he was practicing. You had to, I forget what it was, but he had to say something in English. He had to know English well enough to where, like, there were certain words that he just couldn't say because of his language barrier. And he was trying to teach. I said, "All right, I'll make you a deal. You teach me Spanish, and I'll teach you English." And we worked in the same area of the building, so we didn't spend a lot of time together, but we were in proximity to each other, and we ate together. Because like when in the break room, there was the American table, the Spanish table, and then there was a four-seater in the middle, and it was me and Martine, and then another white dude, and then another Mexican dude, and we were
Nice.
like the translators, basically. Like, we were the mediaries. So the Spanish guys would want to talk with the Americans, they would come to our table, and that was like where the issues were addressed. But he was just a really good dude. His daughter died when she was 18 years old. Beautiful young girl, was going to McDonald's to work, and she overslept and was speeding and died instantly, hitting her, which is not the point. But he was trying to learn the language, and he said, "Oh, it's very difficult." I think it was like Constitution, or it was one of the words he just couldn't say. And he was teaching me a Spanish word, and I was repeating it back to him, and I got it 100% correct. But he kept laughing. That's not how it goes. I was like, "It sounds exactly like you're saying it." And then when he would say the English word, it was wrong, and I was like, "No, that's not right." He goes, "That sounds exactly like you say it." So I could understand the problem,
Yeah.
because I was trying to do the Spanish word, and to me, it sounded exactly like he was saying it, but it was wrong.
Yeah,
And he was the same with the English word. He thought it was right, but it wasn't. So he was but he was putting forth the effort. He was going through the process. It wasn't easy, but he was doing the legal thing. He was legally working. He was paying taxes. He was doing everything he was supposed to do. And I hope today he's a citizen, because he was a good dude, Catholic guy. I went to that's the only time I've ever been to a Catholic church was for his daughter's funeral, and I'll never forget that. That was just,
yeah.
it was so sad.
Well, that was a wonderful story. I'm sorry it has that negative twist to it, but
Yeah, you got to be like, listen, the J sounds are J, they're not huh.
Right.
my dad used to tell me that when he was in prison. He would when we would go visit him, he's like, "Yeah, everyone in prison calls me Yake. I am Yake." And he's like, I tried to correct him, but it's at the point now where my name is Yake, and I'm like, all right. So
Yeah, when I was
Joshua in jail, so
yeah.
yeah, when I was dating a illegal immigrant, she used to say New Yorksey. I'm like, no, not New Yorksey. I was like, New Jersey.
Can we rename it to New Yorksey?
New Yorksey.
I like that more than New York.
No. She said for New Jersey, New Yorksey.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's even better. Even better then. We can rebrand New Jersey as New Jersey.
I'd be like, what do you call me? Joseph?
It's Yoi.
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 That sounds like I feel like someone in Japan would call you that.
Yeah, right. Yoi. Maybe if they were Spanish Japanese.
So someone make an anime picture of Joey, but instead of Joey with a J, put Joey with a Y.
Yeah. Screenshot me like this and then run it through that AI generator thing that people were doing last week.
Yeah, there we go. But all right, lots of stories to get into. Final thoughts: invade Mexico. That's my I don't actually believe that.
I kind of. Could you imagine how much easier it would be to guard our border if we just took over all of North America?
I mean, if we conquered Mexico and then we just held the line at the Panama Canal, that'd be a lot easier.
The biggest mistake, well, you'd have to get like
Panama and Guam too, but it's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
The biggest mistake that they made at the War of 1812 is they should have kept going. They should have taken over Canada. When they took the land from Mexico, Texas, and whatnot, they should have kept going. They shouldn't have given it back. I mean, it was a mistake.
Whoa, what is that?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, turn the phone off. It's I got a call.
Oh,
Alien
okay.
alien interference.
Yeah, we were getting like a weird stack noise when you came back. That was weird. All right.
The
Let's move
NSA.
on.
The last
So,
interview I did, it completely cut the feed off. So
oh
this is
really?
yeah. I was about to have to hang up and do it again. I thought, but
Did
this
you
is
do
why.
another interview recently?
No, it was just one of the previous ones.
Oh,
I've
okay.
done about 12 or 15 interviews, so I've lost count.
Yeah.
So,
Here. Oh, well, I'm gonna pull up this next story, and then I'm also going to link the interview I did with Joshua in the chat. I'll put it in the description for those watching this later, not live. I'll put it
Mhm.
in the description as well. But I definitely recommend you guys go check that out. So let's shift topics. Let's do something not super controversial. You guys want to talk about vaccines? No. No, we'll save that story. Let's talk about the United States considers delisting Chinese stocks amid trade tensions. So let me pull this story up. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has indicated that the delisting of Chinese stocks from U.S. exchanges is under consideration as part of the ongoing trade tensions between the U.S. and China. This statement was made in response to escalating trade pressures. Various opinions have been expressed on social media, with some advocating for the delisting of others, highlighting potential negative impacts on the U.S. investors. This is just an escalation in the trade war. I don't know, like what is the peak of this trade war? Just absolute disconnection of trade relations.
I think he's probably trying to collapse China. Yeah, he's probably trying to do his best to put so much economic pressure on China. I have a couple of friends that are basically first generation from China, and they have this thing that they called old money in China, where it's from old wealth or whatever. And a lot of them claim that there's like so many internal uprisings in China, which is why they haven't done anything with Taiwan yet. So I wonder if Trump knows that there's a lot of issues going on and they can't give full attention to the things that they normally, or at least that they boast about. So he's trying to put economic pressure on them to weaken them past the point of no return. But it's calculated risk though, because like this could trigger some greater conflict, which I don't think any of us want.
Well, and that's exactly what has been at the top of my mind is like we keep escalating this, and then we basically have zero trade relations with them anymore. What's to stop them from going and taking Taiwan at that point?
It's a great question, and well, that's see, so like it's easy to say we need to start doing manufacturing here, but like by the time you get all those places built, by the time you employ people, by the time you start doing stuff, what is it going to be like the midterm elections already? And like I feel like a lot of these companies are just going to kind of stall as much as they can just to wait to see the lay of the land.
Yeah. Well, you make an excellent point there because we have where I live, they just made a Trader Joe's what do they call them? It's like the main center, right, where they send all their stuff and then they send it out to all the different Trader Joe's stores in the areas. I forget what they're called. There's a specific name for them, but they're like
distribution center.
distribution center. Yes. So they just made a Trader Joe's distribution center, and that took them like 2 years, 2.5 years to fully make, and they just started hiring people like 3 months ago.
Mm.
So, like even just for like a Trader Joe's distribution center. Now, if we're talking about like facilities to construct semiconductors and all these computer chips and stuff like that, I think we're looking at not the midterms, but the next election maybe is when those would be built. If we started now, we start
It
today.
was done by then.
Right. That's my point. Like we're just talking about a distribution center. We're not talking about a manufacturing facility for any of these various goods that we need to start making here. It's an investment. It's a very large investment. I don't know if we can get it done before Trump leaves office. That's why it's very important that we focus on these midterms and on the next election. Because if we get another Democrat in office, all of the gains will be gone.
And to stake this around to the minimum wage thing that you first brought up,
Yeah.
the more that the minimum, like if you were to keep the minimum wage at 25 or whatever, that's very different than 15 or 21 for these businesses that of course, like something large companies love doing is skimming off the top. They love doing that shit. And it's like, since these big corporations have so much power, we almost have to accept some level of them messing with us. So like you want to try to minimize that as much as you can. So, when that happens, oh, where'd Tyler go? When that happens, you need to, you basically, we're not really in a position to negotiate when it comes to the corruption between the government and the corporations. So what's the best course of action we can have is like, if you have a lower minimum wage, it will suck that you do these jobs, but like we could also start like promoting like high school seniors and kids in college to like start doing some of these jobs part time instead of using illegal labor.
Well, and that's exactly what I've talked about. The Department of Education is completely useless. I'm so glad that we're seeing it, gone away with. What states and high schools need to begin doing, we need classes for these jobs. You can teach someone in high school how to weld, how to work with wood, work on cars. There's so many different jobs that we need in the United States right now that you can start showing these kids in high school. Like, I love welding. Welding is one of my favorite things to do. If I could afford to buy my own welder, when I'm not doing these videos, guys, I would be out in the garage getting better at welding. So please support the channel because I want to afford a welder someday. They're very expensive. It's like buying a new car. But you can get some welders for a school. Like if you want to talk about putting money back into the schooling system, buy some welders, buy tools, buy all this different equipment, and teach these kids these trades. Electrician, it's not it's actually really fun and not hard to learn how to do wiring and stuff like that. I did a trade school last year. Well, it's kind of like a trade school, but they taught me how to do welding. They taught me how to do carbon fiber work, working with composites. They taught me how to work on cars. I painted my own car. My first car I ever painted is my car that I still have today. It's a 2000 Honda. You can teach all this stuff. I learned in 3 months, all of it. I learned it all in 3 months. And we could teach that stuff in school. And the electrician stuff, I still remember everything. I remember how to do all of that. And we only had 2 days of classes with that. Whoa, what is that noise?
This is probably his phone again. But
sorry,
Joshua,
my phone rang again.
Is that
calls? Yeah, I get a bunch of.
It's the aliens. They're trying to get us.
Joshua, what's called? Anytime it rings, we get like a super loud static noise. Is there any way you could put your phone on do not disturb, just for the time being?
I don't know how to do
that. That's okay. We'll figure it out for next time you come on. It's not that big an issue.
Yeah, maybe you could just lower the volume to where it goes to silent.
Maybe. Well, actually, yeah, that's what's called when you hit the volume button, you usually can change different volumes.
Yeah, just hit it down until it goes to silent.
If I do that, the sound in this will go down in the ring.
That's true. That's true. Okay. All right. Well,
we'll figure it out next time. It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It's just startling in the moment, but once you hear, once you get over it.
And I disappeared because I accidentally clicked the wrong button.
Damn, I had something to add on to what you just said, and then it was.
I lost my train of thought too.
Gosh darn it, guys! Do you remember what Tyler was just saying?
I said a lot there, guys. I'm sorry.
You did. But
distribution centers, working, welding, painting cars.
Oh yeah, right.
Yep.
These trade skills, not only are they useful for potentially finding a type of job that you can do instead of working behind a counter at McDonald's. It also saves you a lot of money when you have an issue with appliances in your house, when you have an issue with your car. You don't need to call someplace up and spend an outrageous amount of money to get it fixed. You can probably do it on your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like people always worry about some people would be like, oh, well, so-and-so makes $100,000 a year, but it's like, how much money do they waste? What's their net profits? You can make 60,000, but if you know what you're doing and you know how to not spend money on some of these things or buy fast food every night or go put your car in the shop and have them spend a lot of money to fix it when you could do it on your own, all of a sudden you have a bigger net profit than the person making more money than you.
Well, the only thing I'll add to the like fixing your own car question, with newer cars, that's almost impossible because you have to have like multiple different skills to work with newer cars. Like the average mechanic can't work on a Tesla.
Almost by design, huh?
Well, I would guarantee that it's by design.
It's done on purpose.
Yeah.
Like there's special tools you have to buy. There's special programs you have to buy, and they'll put a part buried underneath 19 other parts. I was watching a guy the other day work on a car, and he's like, you had to take basically the whole engine apart just to get to a part that used to be right on the outside. He said it took him like 8 hours just to get to the thing, and it was a 5-minute swap, and then it took him 8 hours to put everything back together.
I saw a video of this dude working on I think it was a truck or an SUV. He had to take out the entire front end, like all the seats, all the entire dashboard, the steering wheel, the everything, just to replace that like flat area just below the windshield. It was all scuffed up, and they wanted to put a new one in, but they had embedded it deep into the front of the dashboard, and so just to replace that, they had to take apart almost the entire front of the car. And it's like that doesn't who can do that? You would think it's just a simple little piece. You just like take some clips off or something. No, you have to take apart the whole front to get it out. But with like stuff with my car, my 2000 Honda, I could probably figure out most things to fix on that. It's an old car. It's not super complicated, but that's also why it's a easy car to steal. I did have it. I had my car stolen a month after I painted it, and then I found it the next day. That's a funny story. So in my town, crime is crazy. So I have a wheel bar lock, and I always lock my doors. Well, guess who didn't put their wheel bar on and didn't lock their door that night? It's me. So someone pulled up next to my car, 4 a.m. in the morning, opened my door, and within 30 seconds they're out. So what they did is they stole my car, had a full tank of gas. They went across the main road next to me, into the neighborhood just over next to me. And one of my friends ended up finding the car, and he contacted me. He's like, "Hey, we found your car." He's like, "We found your car," and I was like, "Quit fucking with me, dude." And he's like, "Oh no, we did, but it's missing a door." And I'm like, "What do you mean it's missing a door?" And he's like, "No, I'm just messing with you." And I was like, "Dude, don't do that. Did you actually find my car or not?" And he's like, "Yeah, we did, but the tires are gone." And I'm like, "Dude, did you find my car or not?" And he messed with me like one or two more times. He's like, "No, but I actually did find your car." And then he sent me a picture because I didn't believe him at that point. And then I was like, "How the you find my car?" So we find it. It was fine. They had stolen it, dude. It must have been like some kids that stole it because they took a bunch of stuff out of the car, just like random stuff. I had a little rechargeable flashlight. They stole that. I have a bunch of cubes I made when I was learning how to weld. Wait, there we go. I have a bunch of cubes that I made when I was learning how to weld, and I had a really small one in my car. It was actually this small. I made another one. This one isn't as good. You can't tell in the camera, but it is not well formed. But I had a perfect one. It was a half an inch by half an inch cube. Perfect. They stole that. They stole my cube. They stole my flashlight. They left. I had over $100 worth of tools in the trunk. They left that. I had a nice fancy jacket in the back seat. They left that. They stole all the change out of my center console. But other than that, the car was fine. I found it the next day, and the only reason I found it was because I think whatever idiot stole the car. So they shoved a screwdriver in to start it. When they stopped to go through the car because it was ransacked, they must have turned it off and then couldn't get it to turn back on. So I'm just glad that they're idiots, because it had a full tank of gas. They could have made it all the way to Vegas on that tank, but thankfully they did not. Anyway, I had to go off on that tangent because I love that story. But yeah, so I don't know where the trade tensions. I don't know where the trade tensions, like, I don't know when it stops. Like that what Joey said earlier. My main concern is this turns into a hot conflict because China just they don't want to deal with the trade. So yeah. I'm not sure. But okay. We have a lot of stories to get through. We're gonna move to the next story. Okay, we'll talk about this one briefly. So I guess the Associated Press is still barred from going to these press briefings, and a judge has now ruled that the House has to give them access again. I mean, how do you feel about this, Josh?
That's ridiculous. There's limited seating. Not everybody can get in there, and the press secretary, who's kind of in charge of that, says, "Hey, look, you're going to get this right, or you're leaving. Stop lying." And then now somebody's trying to force them to let them back in there. Who is AP? What gives them the right? Oh yeah, well, you got a First Amendment right to freedom of press. Okay, fine, but there's 38 people in here, and you're just not one of them. Those other 38 people, or however many it is, they the freedom of the press is not being, attacked. It's just, AP, you can't sit here anymore.
Well, how much do you want to bet that somewhere in the Associated Press you can find an article of X talking about freedom of speech but not freedom of reach, right? And how ironic would that be? Because they have the freedom of speech to talk about anything they want. They can still report on all these press briefings,
Right.
but they don't have the freedom of reach to go into these special meetings and stuff anymore.
It's not just that. Like it's such an asinine standard. Like, are you saying like they're not owed a seat at the table? Like you
Yeah.
can report on whatever you want. But if are you saying because you're a news organization you're owed a seat at the table? Then well, goddamn, then Owen Schroyer from Infowars got to be there too because they're a news organization. They're owed a seat at the table.
Well, if the Associated Press doesn't get a seat at the table, I don't think Alad should either. A lot from Timcast. If you guys don't, most of you should know.
I mean, but like, are we just gonna have every new like did the Biden administration allow Breitbart to go in there? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like what because AP is 100+ years old or wherever the heck they are. Like that just means that they have tenure or something. Like, I don't know. I'm not even a big fan of tenure in general when it comes to certain things. So you've been here long enough now you can just dick around and do nothing or be lazy and not work hard. Screw that.
I think they're just looking for something to complain about.
They always are.
Whatever they can complain about, that's what they're doing. That's why they're so happy about this whole tariff thing. They finally got something that they can make a big stink about.
Well, and they're trying to say like, oh, do you regret voting for Trump yet? You see how the economy's doing? Look at the stock market, and it's like we all knew what we were voting for when he was talking about putting tariffs on these other countries. We all knew there would be some pain. The whole point of it is to bring manufacturing and jobs back here. There's going to be some pain in that process. It is what it is. But speaking of complaint, sorry.
I said there's no way around it. If all the changes that have needed to be made for decades, once you start doing it, there's going to be some turmoil. There's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be a few months of pain. If it takes 6-8 months, I'm hoping it's quicker than that. We should start seeing a turnaround within the next couple of months. It may take longer than that. And there's people trying to work against it, so that's not helping. But I'm thinking just give it time. Time will tell.
Well, I think you had an excellent point. They are always looking for something to complain about. I don't know who this individual is, but this gives us a great opportunity to talk about voter ID laws. Sunny Hostin. Does anyone know who this is?
Yeah,
I don't know who.
I've seen this person before.
Who is she? Do you know what she does?
I've seen it in passing. I don't really know who.
She's on The View.
That's who. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. She's on The View. Okay, so lady from The View. Sunny Hostin, a public figure, has expressed concerns about voter ID laws, stating that many black individuals and women may face barriers to voting if such laws are enforced. She argues that these laws could lead to voter suppression, particularly affecting those without cars or driver's licenses and those with mismatched identification documents. Hostin advocates for fewer ID requirements, suggesting that this approach would promote a more inclusive voting system in line with practices in many other democracies. So obviously that's insane and ridiculous. But before we talk about it, let's actually listen to her talk.
People don't have cars, don't have driver's licenses. So it's sort of a vestige of, I think, post-slavery laws where Black people had to prove their right to vote. And oftentimes they couldn't vote because they couldn't pass some crazy test or they didn't have the appropriate ID. It also affects women that are married. Maybe your passport reflects something that's different on your birth certificate or on your driver's license. So really the bottom line is voter suppression. And I agree with him 100%. It's a brilliant notion that less voter ID laws allows more people to vote. And most democracies do it that way. We're the only ones that really don't do it that way.
Right. I mean,
people don't have cars, don't have driver's licenses. So it's
my dog was
sort of a vest.
So, I mean, I could go off on this, but if you guys have anything to add on this. No? Okay. Well, so I'll go off on it.
The most important thing Trump can do is the voter ID requirements.
Well, so
not the voter ID, but I think it shouldn't be extremely easy for just any random person to vote. I think it should be not necessarily difficult, but there should be more to just because there's like during COVID, they were mailing out all those ballots and people who had no idea, no desire, never voted, just okay, they filled out a paper and mailed it in, don't even know what they said. who should I vote for? Oh, vote for this person. Okay,
Well,
it
let
should be a little difficult.
well, even for my family, I did it the legal way, but my family would not have voted if it wasn't for me. And literally, all they did, I handed them my ballot, and they copied it. So, like, how many people on the left are doing that? Like they have the one politically involved person. They're all kind of left leaning, and that
Right,
one person gets them all to fill out their ballot, and then they just sign it off to allow him to go and drop it off.
right,
And it happens all the time. But what I want to talk about primarily about this, and I've said it repeatedly, this is the most racist
Mm-hmm.
talking point from the left. I don't know how you can get more racist than this. She's literally saying that that minority people don't have driver's licenses and they don't have cars, and that somehow suppresses their vote because they don't. I've heard this before. She didn't say it here, but there's people on the left that genuinely believe that black people can't figure out where the DMV is. Like this is the most racist talking point on the left. It is insane to me to be like, oh, we can't have voter ID law. Black people won't figure out how to do it. Are you
right.
serious? How racist is that?
So, being that I'm in New York, let me tell you something. There's a DMV in Harlem on 125th Street.
Well, Joey,
Literally,
you're not black. Of course you know where it
well,
is.
I know, but like 125th Street, that's right by the train station that everybody gets off of. It's the one you transfer to if you're going to the Bronx. Like all these people, trust me, they all know how to get there. They know how to navigate the trains. They know how to walk. A lot of these people, they take the train everywhere. They walk places. Like they know how to get there. They know exactly what to do. And you know, it, what does it cost? Like $8 or whatever to get the ID? Like, come on, man.
It
Like
doesn't cost much. And
it's it,
even then, like, okay, let's say that we require voter ID to vote, right? Okay, well, I'm fine with having some of my taxes going towards what's called, like, having that be free. Like, instead of charging people 10, $20, whatever, just make it free, but everyone has to have an ID to vote.
I'm sure it already is free in some big cities for
I'm sure. Yeah.
certain classes of people. I mean, like it's an absurd. It's absurd. Like all of my black and Hispanic friends I know have IDs, but it's like that video we showed the other day where Kathy Hochul is just like blacks and Latinos that know how to use the internet, and then we showed this video of like some black dude who was just like hopping around like he was a gorilla trying to open a computer because they don't know how to use the internet.
Oh, I saw you watching that clip. That's a bit of an old clip, but I
I
love that
know,
one.
yeah, because it was an old statement she said. It's like a couple of years ago, but it's like it's just an asinine statement. Like
That's what I mean. This whole talking point about the voter ID law stuff, it's just racist coming
these,
from the left.
you know what it is there's a lot of people, whether it's middle America or non-city areas, that maybe they don't interact with black and Hispanic people that much, so they're trying to paint this certain picture to the average voter. But like all I've done my whole life in New York City is interact with black and Hispanic people, almost more than white people, and like I can tell you that this is all bullshit. And when some of them hear shit like this, they don't necessarily want to vote conservative because they believe they're not good either. It makes them like not want to participate in the system.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And then Mad Stork has this down here. Hey, Joey, isn't Sunny Hostin the View host that did the DNA and family history thing and found out that her family were slave owners and she was only kind of black?
She's not the only one. She's not the only one. I think Pharrell did that too. He was on the show Roots, and they found out that Pharrell had ancestry that owned slaves.
I think I
Oh,
heard about that.
that's funny.
That shit's hilarious.
Right.
But yeah, what's called though. We'll move on to the next topic. But it's always funny when the voter ID thing comes up because it is something that is so basic that we should have for all elections. You should prove that you're an American citizen. You should prove that you have an ID. I mean, I don't think that goes far enough. I've said it before. I think you should publicly serve your community or your country in order to get the right to vote. So what that means is like either you joined the armed forces or you go and do like community service for a certain, I don't know how many hours, but there needs to be a certain amount that you need to do in order to earn the right to do or to vote. Also in line with voter ID. So it's not just, I don't want just voter ID. I want people to actually have to serve their community. Unless you have like a disability or something, obviously there'll be like waivers for that. But you should still, like in any way possible, support your country and support your community. And then you get the right to vote. I don't want some random nobody who's just
Uh-oh. Did Tyler freeze?
living off welfare
Uh-oh.
Hey, Tyler, your microphone's blinking in and out.
Uh-oh. They got him, ladies and gentlemen. We got him.
Got him.
Tyler, if you're... Uh-oh. You good? Say something. Uh-oh. I don't know if you can hear
Hello?
us. Hello?
Hello?
Okay, it sounds like your mic is not connected and it's routing through your computer speakers.
And it says it's going through my Yeti.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Say something again.
Hello?
All right, there you go. You're good.
I think what's called it's because the cord for my microphone sucks. I need a new one. It's very loose.
Mm.
But
Is it
anyway,
a USB or is it a XRL cable?
I think it's XRL.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway,
I got like 40 of them in my closet.
I can just get one on Amazon or something. It's just
No,
it's really
you can't use the big corporations. You got to
I
go
always
to your
use
local mom and pop
Amazon.
shop.
Amazon.
Fraud. Tyler's a fraud. He's a fraud.
Joey, I'm in California. There's no mom and pop shops anymore.
Oh,
What are
yeah,
you
that's right.
talking
They all
about?
got shut down during COVID.
They did, and they never came back.
Damn, they never came back with the milk. That's crazy.
Joey, the only mom and pop shops I know about are like super tiny convenience stores.
You know, I miss mom and pop shops, man. Growing up in New York City, there used to be mom and pop shops everywhere. We used to have so many non GameStop or eBay. What was it? EB Games, or I forgot the name of it. But there used to be so many random video game stores. Man, they used to have arcades in them. They hold competition. It was so fun. And now, you know, it's like everything loses its luster once the big corporations consolidate everything, and it's like 6 to 8 corporations make all the video games. They make all the movies. They own all the media, and it's just like everything's the same now. It's like dead internet theory.
Well, I mean, all the buildings look the same. No one's creative with the way they design buildings anymore.
Those big ass glass structures they got in New York, just
or just the concrete
things.
blocks that have no design to them.
Just nasty looking things, like 40 stories high. They look like robot apartments from Futurama. Like,
well, if we didn't have New York, Joey, we wouldn't have movies depicting the towers being crushed by explosions and giant creatures like Godzilla.
Godzilla come to New York? I thought he's usually terrorizing Tokyo, Japan.
Yeah. I mean,
is that true? I guess Godzilla 2000, that horrible movie.
I didn't see that one. I was fortunate enough to avoid it. But anyway, so yeah. Any final thoughts on voter ID other than it's stupid it's stupid that we don't have it and that it's racist to say black people can't figure it out.
I mean, geez.
We have it in Alabama. Last time I didn't get to vote in the last election because I was a convicted felon, but the election before that I had to show an ID.
Oh yeah, why were you a convicted felon, Josh?
I prayed inside of the wrong building at the wrong time.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You can hear more about that in our interview.
If you were to put your head on a rug and pray towards the east, I guarantee they wouldn't have arrested you.
That would have hailed me as a hero.
Yeah. They'd be like, look at the brave soldier.
Look at the brave soldier. He was there to protest against these insurrectionists.
Yeah.
5 days towards the east.
Wear a Biden hat, and I would have been fine.
Yeah, you should have had a Biden hat, man. You wouldn't have gotten that scar there on your cheek if you had the Biden hat.
Well, you should have just had the Biden hat under the hat and just be like, no, look, I'm undercover.
Right.
So
like Ray Epps.
I should have brought this story up after talking about the White House and the Associated Press, but we'll bring it up. We'll bring it up now because we'll go back to it. So let me pull this up. I think this story is hilarious. So the White House ignores journalists with pronouns and signatures. The White House has implemented a policy where officials, including Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, will not respond to emails from journalists who include pronouns in their email signatures. This policy stems from the belief that such journalists do not adhere to biological reality or truth and thus cannot be trusted to report accurately. The policy has sparked a variety of reactions on social media, ranging from support to criticism. I love it. I think it's excellent.
Great idea. Yeah. And you've been warned. So, I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
If you write her a letter and you believe your pronouns in there, you don't want an answer. Yeah. So, like, it's not like she just did this without telling anybody. I mean, if she's warned everybody, there you go. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
pronouns is ridiculous. Men are he, him, and women are she, her. Like, there you go. Problem
and then
solved.
yeah, and then men and women have definitions. Adult human male for men, female adult human female, or woman adult human female. It's super easy. It's super easy. It doesn't need to be complicated. And yeah, if you're gonna have pronouns in your signature when signing,
Oh boy.
There's your mic again.
No, his screen's gone black. Damn, Tyler, you taking an L. He'll be back. He needs a new XRL cable. If anybody wants to donate, Tyler's GoFundMe.
please donate to the show. I can almost I did hit the wrong thing. I can almost what's called start making money on Rumble, guys. Don't donate. Wait, Joey, I'm supposed to be able to move my cameras, and you've taken my position.
I have hijacked Tyler Today News. Hello, it is Joey Today News.
Joey's in the main seat now. So.
Today's news tomorrow, or yesterday's news today, whatever Tyler's other.
I love that joke.
Yesterday's news today. We're going to talk about the 105% tariffs that Trump has levied on China.
That he did 3 days ago, but I'm talking about it today.
But he's since lowered the tariffs for the other countries. All 70 countries that he said the ones that didn't do retaliatory tariffs.
Oh, here I got a story for you on that one. Here, let's pull that one up. So let's talk about the tariffs.
Here,
so
Tyler, if you put me down and just cycle things, you know what I mean?
No. Oh, wait, here. Oh, I see. There we go. Look at that. I'm back. I stole it. Okay. Rumble Studio is interesting. That time it wasn't my mic. That time Rumble Studio gave me the business. I had to refresh. Okay, so let me go to presentation. Joey, this story is just for you. U.S. tariffs in effect. Trump claims countries are now kissing my ass. So I love this. We were talking about this yesterday with TJ Rainman and Melted Mine. We have like over 70 different countries now coming to us like, hey, let's not do tariffs on each other, huh? So I love it. I think it's great. President Donald Trump has announced the new U.S. tariffs on various countries, including a 104% tariff on China, which is insane. That went into effect around 11 o'clock my time.
Isn't it 125%
now? No. I don't. I think it's at just 104.
No, I think it's 125. They posted something on my politics channel on my server.
Oh, I mean, it could be because they keep escalating on each other.
Yeah. So let me see if I'll.
Yeah, get a correction on that. So, the tariffs have officially gone into effect. During a speech at the NRCC dinner, Trump claimed that foreign countries are eager to make trade deals with the U.S., using strong language to describe their enthusiasm. He said he positioned himself as a president who prioritizes workers and the middle class over outsourcers and the political elite, defending America against what he described as trade cheaters.
You want me to read this? Based on lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, I'm hereby raising the tariff charge to China, what a place, by the United States to 125%, effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Okay, I don't need to read the rest, but he basically goes on to say the 75 countries that did not levy retaliatory tariffs against the United States will only have a 10% tariff. What a generous
nice.
God. What a generous God.
I keep telling everybody
10% tariff on us also. So that's
the going rate.
Yeah, that should be everybody. Like the goal is to have everybody at 10%,
Yeah. Well, we were talking about this last night on the After Dark. Like if there's certain things that we literally just cannot get in the United States, maybe we could look at exceptions for those. But overall, yes, 10% tariff on everything. Like other countries need to protect their own manufacturing, just like the United States does. Everyone should be making what they can at their own countries, and anything you can't make in your own country, then you outsource. That's the only time you should be outsourcing, is when you literally can't get it in your own country.
Right.
Yep.
We don't have the climate for bananas and coffee. we kind of have to import those.
That's what we were talking about last night, but then we were also talking about like I'm guarantee you there's like ways to make a special greenhouse just where these beans can be produced, but like mass producing them would be the issue.
The issue with what's happened lately with these other countries ripping us off is like it's more like it's not that we're doing trade because we have to get something from this area. It's almost like we allocate things to other countries to make them feel better about themselves. Just total subsidization. Like these countries wouldn't be able to survive without what the United States does for them militarily, or having like why did like Israel have tariffs on us in the first place? Like we literally,
I thought that was kind of
we're like the sole reason why they're allowed to even exist, and they're like, here we're gonna have tariffs on you guys, and everyone's like, well, look, Trump got them to take the tariffs off. It's like, why the hell did they have tariffs on us in the first place?
Yeah, I found that very interesting. We literally supply them like their main defense. Systems
for the Iron Dome, and they have the nerve to fucking tariff our goods. Like, get the hell out of here, bro.
Absolutely. Again, this comes back to China though. I don't know where this trade conflict stops with China. That's just going to go back and forth. Now they're talking about cutting China out of our stock market. I don't think it looks very good. Things are escalating quite quickly. And then we also have that other story, Joey. I don't know if you talked about it, but Ukraine is alleging that they raided a town and took out a Russian squad or battalion, whatever, and they captured 2 Chinese citizens that were fighting alongside the Russians.
Well, that's what.
And we had all kinds of theories about that. I was like, it literally could be just like how the United States has citizens over there too. It's just mercenaries.
Yeah. I was just about to say that, like, and Zelensky's boasted about that. They've had Americans or Brits come over and fight as mercenaries. So it's just like, so the same shit. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, that was my theory. And then Melted and TJ were talking about how it could just be that they were trying to be covert about their support and have like less, boots on the ground. But I told them, I was like, it's probably more likely that it's a mercenary.
Yeah, some Chinese dude is just passionate about Russia getting their the Donbass region. He's like, I really want them to get the Donbass region.
That, or they're like, fuck globalism and all these EU, NATO countries.
What they probably are. I mean, there's a good. I wouldn't be shocked if they were like Chinese, like secret agents or some shit, though. That wouldn't shock me. Just trying to.
That's kind of that was. I think that was Melted's point, or it might have been TJ's. They were saying like it could just be a spy. It could be higher intelligence.
Actually, maybe Melted's right, because the reason why I think it might be something like that is because China is such a ethno state, you know what I mean? Like, and their media most assuredly does not do these types of feel bad for other countries type thing, So that like the United States is full of the media will just be like, oh, have sympathy for the Ukrainian people, China's not going to be like have sympathy for the Russian people. Like they might be working with Russia, but like one thing you can say about China is they're China first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's one of the few things that I find admirable about China. Like you could say what they want about their, they're going to do what they can to better China. And
China's plan is to take over the world economically.
Mm-hmm.
They want to take over America without firing a shot, and they've had a plan. Their plan is a 100-year plan. We have a 4-year plan, and that's why I think Trump putting as much tariffs on China as he can is a good thing. He needs to stop them, because if anybody is our enemy in the world right now, it's not Russia, it's China. Their goal is to take over the United States.
This is why, like, when I talk about like the foreign policy of the United States the last 60, 70, 80 years, it's like we keep doubling down and be like, well, now there's this issue that we need to take care of. And it's like, no, the issues keep exponentially rising because we continue to do this failed policy. And like, which president was it that brought China into they brought China into the world, basically. They brought them into the world market. And it's like, why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep helping these countries or helping these terror cell units that eventually become our enemies in 20, 25, 30 years? We just keep creating problems that I guess the military industrial complex will solve and continue to get rich off of it, while American soldiers, American families suffer and die, and our taxes get elevated, and we have to keep funding all this bull crap. It's like, enough, man. And the excuse is always going to be, well, now the problem's too big, we have to do something about it. It's like, I don't know. Man, it's tough.
Well, and then Josh brought up an excellent point. China they want to be the dominant superpower of the world. And right
Mhm.
now, the United States is that power. So obviously, we're their biggest threat. And they want to take us over without firing a shot. We've noticed how the majority of the stories the past few days, China has their hands in everything. When we talk about Mexico and the cartels, China comes up. We talk about
Yep.
illegal immigration, China comes up. We talk about Ukraine, China comes up. The trade war with China. China has all our manufacturing. We have to defend Taiwan. Like China is involved in like a lot of major issues with the United States right now, and then you have to start to wonder why. It's because they are directly trying to harm the United States as much as they can without actually firing any shots. It's that simple. I mean, you have the stories like with the balloons. They're trying to assert power they're just trying to be like, look what we can do. You won't do nothing about it.
They're
When they had that
flexing.
balloon fly over the entire United States.
Well, the
So
goal of the world is like the Bible talks about it. There's gonna eventually be a one world government, and everybody that's on the devil's side is doing everything they can to make that happen. Some say the Antichrist is alive today. I don't know if he is or not. I think there's been an Antichrist alive since Jesus died, but it hasn't been the right time. And I think there is eventually going to come a time when there's a one world government run by the Antichrist, and I firmly believe that. And I think most of these people have signed on, and there's evil powers at play, and I don't know any details about it, but there are evil powers at play that want that to happen. They'll do anything, and America's the thorn in the side of the one world government because America stands against all that, or it's supposed to. And Trump is, if it hadn't been for Trump, we would have been in it a lot quicker you know, than we will be now. He's delayed it, but he hasn't stopped it.
yeah.
And I mean,
Well,
I hope I
you know,
can stop it, but I don't know if he can.
and to your point about like the Antichrist being alive or having one in the past, what I've heard, I'm not super religious. I've never read the Bible, but what I've heard is that the devil doesn't know the end when the end times will come either. So there's constantly an Antichrist because he doesn't
Correct.
know when the end time happens. So that's why
Right.
there's always evil in the world because he doesn't know when the end times come. So he
Mhm.
has to be ready too.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've heard. That's
You heard that from me.
did I?
Yeah.
That might have been in our interview. Go watch that.
So,
But yeah, no, that's exactly it. So, and the United States needs to combat that. We need to, and like you said, China's our enemy, not Russia. And Joey and I have talked about this on multiple shows. You look at everything going on in the world lately. Russia should be more of an ally than anyone else is. They align more with our values than anyone.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Because
what,
like
Orthodox Christian, Catholic or Christian, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah,
why are we allied with the EU? Why are we allied with Israel? Why are we allied with anyone else? Is Russia any more worse than Israel?
no,
Is Russia any more worse than any
let's
of these other countries?
look at like how our values or our the values that we want to have. Do they line up with almost any place in like Europe? Like Europe is totally like godless. They're lost. They promote
Anti-free speech,
anti-free speech.
anti-self-defense.
They don't, and like that's not saying Russia's pro-free speech, but like they align much more on like things than some of these European countries do. And
well,
like,
go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, you finish. You go.
Why do you think that when Trump first got elected, the thing was Russia, 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 the Russia hoax?
Hmm.
Why did they choose Russia as the enemy? They weren't. We were. I mean, things were pretty good with Russia. We weren't. The Cold War was pretty much over. We weren't. There was no real hostility. They were afraid Trump was going to make them an ally, and that's one thing they're scared of. Because if we could get out, like if we could start influencing them and helping them become a more democratic place or even a democratic republic, I think the bad guys, whoever you want to say they are, I think they're scared to death of Russia coming in. That's why they're so big on helping Ukraine. It's not that they love Ukraine, it's that they hate Russia because
Absolutely.
they've always been our enemy. It's like the book 1984. It's like we are at war with Eurasia. We've always been at war with Eurasia. They did not want Trump to make, because Trump would have went in there and said, "Hey, what do we got to do to make us like allies? What do we got to do to make it to where we work together for our common goals?" And within a couple of years, he would have had that straightened out, but he couldn't communicate with them because they were accusing him of being a Russian agent. They don't want us to make peace with Russia. They need an enemy. They don't want it to be China because China's paying them all. Not all, but there's a bunch of congressmen, senators,
Well, I mean,
politicians, bureaucrats. They're all getting money from China, so they don't want to make China the enemy.
well, a
They
lot
want
of it,
to be the enemy.
yeah, a lot of it is that a lot of the corporations that have a lot of the sway are the ones that are embedded in China.
Yeah,
So it's like, yeah, we don't want to do anything against this gravy train we got, this cheap labor, cheap manufacturing, and then we put the tariffs on the United States to make even more money. They don't want that to stop. They have no
No,
loyalty to country. These psychopaths who run some of these big corporations. They don't have loyalty to the country. They have loyalty to themselves. So if they could hop from the United States to China, they would. But also, the reason why the Chinese have Chinese agents within foreign companies is because they want to keep an eye on them too. So I think that's something we should do with foreign companies as well. Honestly. I
yep.
hate to sound like I want to take things from China, but like if you're talking about protecting the interest of your country, you want to make sure that some of these companies aren't subverting your country.
Absolutely. So, it's called Joey. We'll kick you out of here in like 13 minutes. But I want to get both of your
8
thoughts
minutes.
on.
I'm going to go in 8 minutes because I'm doing an interview with somebody about their book. So
Oh, okay. So
yeah, I want to like talk
make
to
sure
them
it's
first.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. So let's talk about this next story before you go then. Let's talk about how a Cleveland Clinic study found that the flu vaccine is linked to an increased flu risk. A recent study from the Cleveland Clinic, which involved 53,000 participants, have indicated that the individuals who received the 2024 to 2025 flu vaccine were 27% more likely to contract the flu compared to those who did not receive the vaccine. This finding suggests negative efficacy of the flu shot for the current season among healthy working-aged adults. The study is currently a preprint, meaning it has not yet undergone peer review, and further research is needed to validate these findings and understand their implications. I am not surprised by this story one bit.
Well, as someone who got the swine flu shot in 2009, I've yet to get a vaccine since then because that thing nearly killed my ass. That was
Which
horrible.
vaccine?
Swine flu,
Swine flu?
H1N1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was on the mend for like 2 weeks, man. I'm writing like goodbye letters to my friends and stuff. Like it was horrible, man. And I'm just like, why would I like the risk of potentially something cataclysmically going wrong does not outweigh the 3 or 4 days I might feel bad with the flu.
Well, I mean, I haven't gotten a vaccine for anything in quite a while. Obviously, there are things you should get vaccines for. I mean, even JFK. Wait, no, RFK Jr., not JFK.
JFK is not saying much these days.
Yeah, he's not saying much these days. RFK Jr. He even says like we have some stories coming from Texas about people dying from the measles. We had another kid the other day die from measles, and it's like, yeah, go get the measles vaccine. That one is safe. We know that one's safe. But when it's certain things like this, like the flu vaccine where they change it every year, a COVID vaccine where they rushed it out, don't go get those ones. It's not like these are like life threatening anyway, except for like specific groups of people, obviously. But for the general healthy person, the flu ain't going to kill you. Neither is COVID. So it's like, why are you going to go get a vaccine? And even then, even if it is going to kill you, we have this study here for the flu. It says that you're more likely to get the flu if you did get vaxxed. So if you actually have health complications and if you are at a higher risk of, having more issues with the flu, you actually wouldn't get the vaccine anyway.
Well, Fauci, he got like a couple of COVID shots and 3 or 4 boosters, and then he's like, "Yeah, I got COVID again." But it's not going to be that bad this time. It's like the 3rd time he got it. I mean, that's crazy. And then like, every time I've ever got the flu in the past 10 or 15 years, I got it from somebody who got the flu shot. Who they had. I was working at this place. I don't know. It was before January 6th, so it was, I don't know, 2019, 2020 maybe. And guy shows up for work sick as a dog. I mean, I had to work right in front of him. He's sneezing, coughing all over the place, and I wound up getting really sick. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, well, like, why didn't you get the vaccine?" I never got the vaccine, but I said, "Hey, did you get the vaccine?" He goes, "Yeah, I got the vaccine. I don't know how I got this. I got it 2 weeks ago." And I'm like, and here you are standing right in front of me sick, and now you got me sick. And I wound up losing that job because you could only be out for 4 days, and I was sick for like 5 or 6. It was really bad. It was really bad flu. but I got it from him, and he had the vaccine. So I don't know that he got it from the vaccine, but I mean, I've never taken a flu shot, and I rarely get the flu. I
Well, I mean,
mean, it's every 5 years, maybe. You know,
well, so during COVID, I loved all the talking points about the COVID vaccine. You were supposed to get the vaccine to protect other people.
that don't make any sense.
It's supposed to protect you. You get the vaccine to protect you. And I got into such a big argument with one of my best friends over this that we actually didn't speak for 2 years.
Damn.
We recently made up last year, but we still don't talk as much as we used to, just because it's just not the same, right? But I've known him since fourth grade. I'm not going to disclose his name or anything. I love the guy.
Jimbo.
Even after all that,
I'm
is
kidding.
Jim Bob. Jim Bob. He felt very strongly about everything going on with COVID, and him and I disagreed. He didn't like some of the things I was sharing on social media, and we got into an argument over it, and then we didn't speak for 2 years. So it sucks, but after COVID and everything calmed down, he eventually apologized, and we made up. I apologize for anything I may have said, though it was mostly him. But it just sucks, and it's the whole rhetoric around all these vaccines and stuff. It's like, is it actually helping anyone? And all the heavy metals they put in a lot of these vaccines. For a while, we didn't even know what the ingredients were for the COVID vaccine. I don't even know if we do still. But even then, like, you get the COVID vaccine, and then you need two boosters within a year. And then you can still get COVID. Like, can you even call that a vaccine? And if it is a vaccine, it's definitely not an effective one. And then the talking, like you guys were saying, that the talking point about you get the vaccine to protect other people makes absolutely no sense. The vaccine is for you. It's to protect you from getting COVID. And none of that stuff ever made sense.
When I was in DC jail, they tried everything they could do to get me to take it. And she was like, "Well, you don't care about me?" I said, "Well, if you've had the vaccine," she goes, "Yes." I said, "Well, then you should be safe."
Yeah.
And she just got me with the black. She hadn't, like, it was like the light was not on, you know? And I'm like, if you've been vaccinated, what does it matter if I get a vaccine?
Mm-hmm.
You know? If you can get it from me and you've been vaccinated, what's the point?
I used to hear that about, like, what are some of those vaccines you get when you're young? And I'm like, oh, well, you got to. My mom would be like, you got to take these to go to school. And I'm like, why? If everybody else takes it, they're okay, aren't they?
Right,
isn't that how that works?
Yeah,
it's supposed to be.
It's only so. How does that work when it comes to somebody's rights or my body, my choice? Like, everyone has to do one thing in solidarity. Like, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. Like, not everything's a one size fits all. Everyone has different body chemistry. And that's not to say one shouldn't take something or should take something. I'm just saying some people have different bodies. Some people respond well to eating a lot of protein. Some people don't. Some people have allergies to gluten. Some people don't. Like, people have different body types and structures. It's not always a one size fits all, but for the sake of efficiency and the government's convenience and big pharma's convenience, it's always one size fits all.
Yep.
Yep.
Well,
to stop COVID, they outlawed sunshine and going outside.
Vitamin D. Yeah.
Fresh air, sunshine is illegal. Like, you can't go outside. You can't, like that. How does that make any sense at all?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about this more, but I got to kick Joey out of here so he can go get ready for his show.
Yeah. You guys got 10 more minutes now.
All right. Whatever,
All
right. Joey. All right. Later, Joey.
All right. Later, man.
So just us now, Joshua. Hello. The whole everything about the vaccine, all the vaccine stuff was just ridiculous, and we actually didn't talk about that during the interview. So while you were in the DC gulags for being a January 6th, they were trying to get you to take the vaccine too. How many times did they bother you about that?
It was 3 or 4 times. The first time they were all nice and sweet, and then the second time they offered to put $50 on my books, and I was like, "No, I got plenty of money." And then the third time they were like mean. They were like, aggressive. And then the fourth time they were like, well, if you like trying to, like, it was a woman and she was trying to talk to me like she was my mom, like, "Oh, but honey," like, really, like, they're not nice. They're never nice.
Yeah.
And she was super sweet and just, "Oh, honey." And I said, "Look, I'm not going to do it. I've prayed about it. I don't have peace. I'm not going to do it. There's nothing you can say." And then after that, they never brought it up again. But the first time they were like, "You need to get it." And when I said no, then they offered me $50. And then the next time they were like, "You rah, rah, rah." They sent the big tough guy who's like threatening me, basically, "Well, if you don't get it, it's in solitaire." I was like, "Well, I'm already in solitaire. What are you going to do?" you know. And then they tried every tactic they could. When I finally said, "Look, I'm a Christian. I've prayed about it. I don't have peace. There's nothing you can tell me." Well, we'll put you in solitary. I said, "I don't care. Do whatever you got to do. We'll take
Absolutely.
away your right to use a phone." I said, "I don't care."
That's
You know.
crazy. They'll take away your right to use a phone.
Well, that's my lifeline because I was by myself all day and I got to use the phone for an hour Monday through Friday.
Yeah,
So
but that's what I
that,
mean. They were punishing you for not wanting to take an experimental vaccine.
right, yeah. Yeah,
So
but I
it
prayed about it and I did not have peace. So, like, if I'd have prayed about it and had peace, I would have taken it, But something just wasn't sitting right with me. And I had no information, I had no details, nobody was influencing my decision. I prayed
I
about it. Something ain't right here.
simple
So,
reason I didn't take it was because I was constantly up to date. Look, the news and politics are my sports. I try to be as
yeah,
up to date as I can. So during COVID, when I had nothing to do besides work and look at politics, that's what I did. So I was constantly up to date with everything going on with COVID. So when the vaccines came out, I was like, why would I take that? I have less than a 1% chance of ever having an issue with COVID.
right,
And it's like you have about the same. It's either you take a shot that has about the same chances affecting you as COVID does, or you get COVID and you have the same percentage as the vaccine affecting you. So it's like, okay, well, how about I just avoid both? And if I get COVID, I get COVID, but I'm not going to willingly go take this vaccine that we don't know the implications of it yet. Like it was just ridiculous to me. So I was like, I'm not going to do it. And then I mean, I'm sure everyone has COVID stories, but I love sharing this story. During COVID, I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods, and everyone had it was what's called. It was like around that time of year where everyone's graduating from high school. They were all talking about how they went to their graduation ceremonies, but this was during COVID, where you're supposed to be in like groups of less than six. So they were willingly sharing it around the break room, just talking about it with everyone. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess everyone's cool here. They know COVID's ridiculous. So then I, in an off comment, mentioned how I had just visited my family over the weekend and there was a bunch of people there. My boss overheard me and was like, yeah, you're out for 2 weeks. And I was like, what? No one there was sick. No, none of my family was sick. I have zero symptoms.
right.
I want to work. I am willing to work. And I even said, I was like, what about all the people that just went to their graduation ceremony? And she's like, yeah, that they're fine. And so I think I didn't think I had beef with the manager, but after that I had beef with the manager.
Well, if you'd have told him you went to a BLM protest, he wouldn't have had a problem.
Right.
The Surgeon General or whoever it was said something about, oh yeah, you can't go outside, you can't do this, you need to lock down. What about the BLM pro? Those are fine. This is more.
I wanted to mention to you because you brought up how you were offered $50 to take the vaccine. They were offering people a free burger and fries
Yeah.
to go get a vaccine in some places. So they were trying all kinds of things. And how many people actually went and did that? They're like, oh, I can get a cheeseburger and fries. Yeah, bro, stick the needle in my arm.
Well, everybody there was only two when I was in DC. There was one girl in the cell across from me, and there was a guy in the cell beside me, and both of them got it because they treated them like a human being while they were doing it, and you don't ever get that in jail. Like
Yeah.
so, it was very tempting because they were like talking to them like they were normal humans, like it was. I was watching them through the door when they did it. I couldn't see them do it because they went inside, but I could hear what they were saying, and it was like I can see why they wanted to do it, because it was like 10 minutes of being a normal person. And the girl across the hall from me, she took it, just couldn't wait. And the guy beside me, he took it. And the guards or the nurses were like, oh yes, talking to them just so nice, and like, oh yeah, you're just being a good, you're doing this for your community, you're doing this to help people, and it made like it was, there was seemed like a spirit behind it, like it just something wasn't right. So I just then they looked at me, gave me the stank eye when they walked by, So I was like, sorry, you know.
Well, I mean, a lot of people were tricked during COVID with the vaccine and stuff. I mean, just even calling it a vaccine when it doesn't
Yeah.
actually defend you against anything, that alone tricked tons of people. I still can't convince my great grandmother, who she's trusted vaccines her entire 90 years of life, trying
Mm.
to tell her that the COVID vaccine isn't actually a vaccine. is like talking to a wall. She's like, it's a vaccine, of course it works. So it's really hard to convince people that are set in their ways, and vaccines are supposed to be these well-tested, works all the time kind of thing. And the reality of it is this one wasn't tested, and we still don't know the lifelong implications of it. We don't even know the lifelong implications of having COVID. Even now, if I went and go get blood work done, they could probably find evidence that I had COVID in the past. What is that going to do in the future? Because we talk about things like chickenpox. Chickenpox leads to shingles when you're older. My father had to deal with it. He had chickenpox when he was younger, and then when he got older, he had to deal with shingles, and that would break out every once in a while, and I knew it was really painful for him, especially when he would get stressed out, because then you get stressed, and then it makes it worse. But like, what are we going to see something like that come from COVID? Are we going to get like a shingles type after effect when we get older or after a certain amount of years? We don't know yet. There wasn't enough testing for any of this. So there's a lot of things to worry about with that. But
A vaccine teaches your body to recognize the virus,
that's
and
what it's supposed to do.
It trains your body to recognize it and have a I can't think of the word. Antihistamine is not the right word, but it trains your body to recognize it and be able to fight it.
Yeah.
And the COVID vaccine does none of that.
Yeah, the vaccine is supposed to help your immune system to identify threats,
Right.
especially a new threat like a sudden outbreak of something. The vaccine is supposed to introduce it in a safe way to your immune system, so that way when it does encounter it, it knows that it needs to fight it.
Right. Well, actually, a lot of the vaccines are just a weakened version of the virus.
Yeah.
So your immune system, when it fights it, it can kill it, and then it's like, it trains it. Okay, well, this is something we're going to have to face in the future. And now that it kind of gives you immunity, or know.
Absolutely.
So, of course, I'm not a doctor, but
no, I mean neither of us are a doctor. So Joey starts his show at 2:35. That should be 4:35 for you. We'll be sending everybody that's currently here over to there. We'll start winding down a little bit. Joshua, it was great to have you on. I would like to have you on again in the future. You have an open invite to the show anytime you want to come on and talk about politics and stuff like that. But I recommend everyone goes and checks out our interview, the interview Joshua and I had earlier this month. Super great. First interview I've ever done, but Joshua has an amazing story. I tell like everyone I know. I've told like my entire family about that interview, Joshua. I have a very large family. Any chance I get, I share that interview.
Yeah, well, you did a good job for your first time. You kept it on pace, Even when we got sidetracked, you had questions, So you did a good job.
Oh yeah,
and I see that your subscriber count has tripled.
Yes.
Since the first when I became a follower. I was following you on YouTube. I wasn't following you on Rumble until later. But,
well, I didn't start doing Rumble until I got my new computer because it was a lot to deal with my old laptop. But as soon as I got this new computer, I moved everything over to Rumble. Josh was gentle with Tyler for Tyler's first time, is what someone in the chat just said. Thank you, Shitty Gov. But now that I am on Rumble, I can't download my own YouTube videos, and I don't have the original file of our interview. So I restreamed it on YouTube and Rumble. So I don't know if you saw that. So now there's 2 copies of it. Yeah.
I saw that.
So that's how I got it onto Rumble. So I did put a link in the chat if anyone is interested in seeing that interview. But it sounded like Joey was going to go and do his own interview today. So maybe just put that in your recommended, save it somewhere, check it out later tonight. Again, great interview. If you want to find Joshua, if you want to follow him on anything, I have his Twitter right here. And then if Joshua, you have any closing remarks, closing statements, anything you want to shout out, you have the floor.
Not really. Just trust the Lord. If you don't know Jesus, you need to just ask God to show him to you, and he will. God wants you to know who he is, and you need to get to know him. He created you for a purpose. And I just shout out Jesus Christ. He's my Lord and Savior. And that's it.
Well, thank you very much, Joshua. I think that's an amazing closing remark. If you want to contact Joshua or get in touch with him in any way, here is his Twitter account for when he does check it. It's
Yeah,
I'm just messing with you.
I don't. I get on about once or twice a week now. I don't.
No, that's fair. I mean, you don't want to be terminally online like some of these
It was
people. Cough, cough,
my
me.
brain. It was scrambling my brain. I was like getting addicted to it. I was on it all. I was on it for like 8 or 9 hours straight one day, and I was like, I need to set this down.
Yeah, you're like, oh, let's take a break. Yeah, no, I totally understand that. But if you guys want to go follow Joshua, highly recommend it. If you can't see it, he is at Preacher O Christ. So go and follow him. Give him a follow. We're gonna send you guys over to Joey in just a moment. Joshua, I'm gonna drop you down just for now. You can stay in the studio. We'll talk a little bit after. But anyway, thank you guys. Thank you guys. It was great to have Joshua on again. I'm glad Joey can make it. Go over to Joey. Joey is doing an interview. I don't know who he's doing an interview with. I just heard about this. But go check him out. I'm going to send you guys over there. And after you check out Joey's show, check out the Quiet Part Pod, obviously. But please, I highly recommend it when you have the time. It's a very long interview, but I do have clips of it on YouTube. Go and check out the interview I did. It is titled Interview with Joshua Matthew Black. Go and check that out. I'm going to send you guys over to Joey now. Thank you guys. Peace out. Great show today. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video today. If you thought that was a great video, great live stream, great whatever you were watching, make sure you hit that like, thumbs up, whatever you're watching, hit that follow, subscribe, and if you really want to support me, you could always share the video and comment down below. But thank you guys so much. Make sure you follow on Rumble, YouTube, and X. Thank you, and peace out.